Welcome to First. I'm Shirley Min along with Mark Eichman. Nichelle Polston is off this week. The car that crashed into the Brandywine SPCA headquarters was devastating for the Newcastle facility, but the group is ready for a comeback.
In theory, if you have good grades, you should get into a good college, but it isn't always that simple. TeenSHARP tries to change the equation and change the playing field.
A change in thinking is taking place among some Wilmington teens who spent a couple of weeks learning what being a police officer is like.
First, your public media news magazine starts now.
The Brandywine Valley SPCA is gradually resuming pet adoptions after a car crashed into the shelter earlier this month, shutting down parts of the Newcastle location indefinitely. In this week's First Look, we show you how the shelter's rebuilding after such a devastating blow. The Brandywine Valley SPCA's Newcastle location had only been open 18 months when 36-year-old LaToya Cooper crashed her car into the shelter.
Word went out pretty quick amongst our staff that there's a fire at Newcastle, animals are on the loose. That's all we knew. It was an absolutely terrifying phone call, every pet lover's worst nightmare.
Cooper's car drove right into the veterinary clinic where the shelter does spay, neuter, and wellness and sick visits. The crash ignited a fire, killing the driver and 4 cats, including this kitty, Harmony. Firefighters and other first responders evacuated 100 animals in a matter of minutes. Meanwhile, smoke and water spread throughout the facility, causing more damage to the untouched part of the building.
We don't have a specific timeline yet for the construction. As you can see, it's moving very quickly. We actually started repairs the day of the fire, started working on the building, the smoke damage, the water damage.
The kennels are all empty here at the Brandywine Valley SPCA, but Linda Torelli says she hopes to get all of the animals back here and up for adoption as soon as possible. Some have already been placed in new homes. Volunteer firefighter Joe Fasciola carried Squirt out of the shelter and held him until he could be moved to safety.
Everybody was like, well, you're not going to put him down, are you? No, he said that's because a lot of them were saying, well, I'm going to adopt him. As you leave this one alone, it's mine.
And the feeling was mutual.
He kind of took to me, I guess.
And Squirt couldn't be happier in his new home with his new big brother, Sam. Wilmington Manor Fire Company was also on the scene. Volunteer firefighter Ken Phibbs and especially his wife took to Ivy, an English bulldog.
She started seeing all the posts from the people on scene on their social media accounts, and she actually saw the one of her sitting in the back of the chief's truck with a baseball hat on. So she said that we need to step up and help them and at least adopt an animal.
She's tugged at our heart, and from the moment I saw the pictures, and she's just been great. If we can do our part and trying to find a home for at least one animal, that was just put my mind to ease. And that was why I felt we should go up and rescue one of the animals.
Torelli's hopeful Brandywine Valley can resume adoptions in a matter of weeks. We could be talking months for the vet clinic, though. Construction crews gutted this entire side of the shelter and are rebuilding it from scratch.
Our biggest challenge is going to be to bridge the financial impact. We have a clinic that is going to be closed indefinitely. Not only was that a service to the community, but it funded some of our other services. We also have additional costs for medical care for the animals, housing, and again, things that insurance isn't going to cover for us. So the biggest thing we need right now is financial donations from the community, and every dollar is going to help us right now.
Momentum was just starting to build for Brandywine Valley here in Newcastle. Torelli hopes the shelter's established enough goodwill within the community to last until the shelter's grand reopening. Most of the evacuated animals are at the Brandywine Valley SPCA's Westchester, PA location. But Torelli says the BVSPCA is trying to get the majority of the animals back to Newcastle this week.
And what about the vet clinic? Any idea when that might be reopening?
Well, Torelli says she thinks it might be 2 months before that can happen. In the meantime, though, 2 of the shelter's cat rooms and 2 of their meet and greet rooms have been retrofitted into wellness clinic areas.
So they're making do until. So what this accident, any word on how that happened? What caused this?
Still no. That remains under investigation, and we haven't heard any updates as of yet.
And then obviously a lot of damage. Any idea how much the repairs are going to cost?
It's going to be a lot. Trolley says, though, that the price tag has yet to be totaled because they're still looking at what could be recovered versus completely replaced. But she says the shelter can use all the help they can get. Donations can be made to bvspca.org/donate.
All right, Shirley, thanks so much.
Coming up on First, some real-life policing produces a real-life summer camp experience. And in our first experience, vampires are real, right? It's the best of the fakes, and we're not talking fake news. It's later on First.
TeenSHARP is an intensive academic and leadership program for high-achieving, low-income students of color who want to get into elite colleges. The nonprofit has helped dozens of students from the Philadelphia region get accepted to Vassar, Georgetown, Swarthmore, Penn, and other top institutions. Now TeenSHARP is branching out in a partnership with the state of Delaware to reach hundreds more students.
Please join me in welcoming the salutatorian for the class of 2017, Miss Alejandra Villamares.
As a 4.0 student starting her senior year at Howard High School of Technology, Alejandra Villamares was accustomed to only praise from teachers and classmates. The child of unauthorized immigrants from Mexico, Villamares aspired to become an engineer. But TeenSHARP told her the harsh truth.
We saw this child who was absolutely driven, but just didn't know in what direction to drive, right? And what we also saw is that the student that we quite frankly see a lot, who has not had much exposure to college level classes and was behind in a number of different ways.
They told me that no, I was not ready at all. I was not competitive for top institutions. At that point, it was panic mode 100.
Following TeenSHARP's counsel, she doubled down on academics, taking extra online courses in languages, calculus, English, and sociology.
Over the course of about, 14 months, this child was running at 400 miles an hour.
Villamares dove into leadership activities. She addressed a conference in Washington about standardized testing. She started a program at Howard for students with high grades but modest means.
I was honestly frustrated with the education system. I was mad because they didn't allow me to thrive the way I should have. My mother and I are both immigrants. I believed I didn't have the power to say anything, but I became an education advocate.
Villamares set her sights on Connecticut's Wesleyan University, considered one of America's finest liberal arts colleges. Wesleyan accepts less than 1 in 5 applicants. She learned her fate in February, opening an envelope alone at home while her mom was waiting tables at a Mexican restaurant.
I opened the letter and it was like, congratulations, and I was like screaming by myself. I called my mom and she started crying too, and she was at work, so it was like kind of funny, but yeah, so it was like a really exciting moment.
As she prepares to start at Wesleyan this fall with a full scholarship worth more than $50,000 a year, Villamares is taking her message of empowerment and intense preparation to fellow high-achieving, low-income students. She's doing it with TeenSHARP, which is partnered with the state to start the Delaware Goes to College Academy.
Students are expected to attend a summer boot camp in August, and from there move into a virtual class where they're going to be receiving just-in-time support and high-quality advising as they go through the college application process. And in what ways do you still need to grow?
This summer, the College Academy hopes to reach 300 Delaware low-income students with a 3.0 grade point average. Palatco has hired Villamares and other TeenSHARP alumni to train, inspire, cajole, and push students to take their future into their own hands.
You good?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. The school counselors are overwhelmed, right? On average, there is one school counselor per 440 kids, and you guys know exactly what that looks like. They really have a hard time guiding you in deep ways that you need. That's what we are trying to do.
Palatco is using successes like Villamares to show students not only that they can overcome the odds to get into top schools, but how to take the affirmative steps to make it happen. That includes strategies to get crucial financial aid.
Alejandra has been unleashed, right? And so now she's so passionate about warning others, helping others not to be in the same situation that she was.
At Howard Votech, Viamade studied heating and air conditioning. Now she aspires to make documentary films about unauthorized immigrants like herself.
You drive your own education. You have to take charge of and responsibility for yourself and what you do. And wherever you come from, whatever your background, you decide what to do with your intelligence. I'm not saying goodbye, but rather see you or hear about you soon. Thank you.
It's obvious that guidance counselors don't have the time to give juniors and seniors all the attention they need. I know budgets are tight, but perhaps it's time for schools to intensify their efforts to truly help students get into the best possible college. Follow my education reporting at newsworks.org/Delaware.
Some Wilmington area students spent part of their summer with Wilmington police officers, but not as a form of punishment, but to learn more about what goes into law enforcement. It only took 2 weeks at the Wilmington Police Youth Academy to change their perspective about the men and women behind the badge. Nichelle Polston checked in with the kids to get their reaction.
Who's going to escort him back in?
For these students, the Wilmington Police Youth Academy was the perfect place to be this summer.
Think about it. If he keeps using I, but he keeps saying I was with a friend, that's what I want you to target. Right. Go ahead.
It was a camp of contrasts. There were 2 sets of young people involved. First, a group with no interest in law enforcement. The other, a group of teenagers with life already figured out.
You had a gun, but it was just fake.
I want to be a lawyer, prosecutor.
I'm very interested in detective work and maybe even want to go into the FBI.
And detective work was exactly what 12-year-old Zion Webb experienced.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 patrol. The rest of you guys are detectives over there.
In the field, police officers wanted to give the kids real-world experiences.
I just want to be as detailed as possible so they can know how much of detail we have to pay attention to.
They handed over some of their police work, and they didn't go easy on the students either.
So we've surveyed our crime scene. Now what normally happens is when patrol respond out to a scene, if there are evidence, the patrol officer cordons off the crime scene. Pay attention. And the reason he's cordoning off the crime scene is for you guys to come to investigate.
A lot of people in my family are from the military, they are in the military. So they do a lot of stuff and they tell me stories about it, and it sounds really interesting.
On the flip side, students like Leah Hearns doesn't see a career in law enforcement for herself, but she walked away with a different experience.
On social media, there's a lot going around about them being bad, but they're like superheroes. Honestly, the world would not be the same without police officers. They keep everything sane and calm.
In the classroom, Master Sergeant William Smid was one of those heroes, with one goal in mind: to encourage students to stay on the right path.
The national average of life expectancy for gang members is 18 to 24 years of age. So for most kids, I mean, that's the end of your childhood. When you turn 18, you're an adult. And to have just a mere 5-6 years left to even look at that, I mean, some of these kids in the room were 12 years old. If this average is correct and they were lured in that lifestyle, their lives are halfway over already.
But life is just beginning for the 14 participants of this year's academy. Although each student walked away with a certificate during a graduation ceremony, the academy changed many of their lives, and their heartfelt speeches were proof of that.
I used to believe that there weren't many good cops left because most of them had turned to taking the lives of the innocent. But during these 2 weeks, I learned that isn't the case at all. It's hard to be an officer, and these officers make that clear. They wake up every morning with one goal in mind: save a life. They keep this goal in mind, all while in the back of their head they know that each morning they go out on the job could be their last. I now know that a police officer is no different than you and I, but they're human like me. Thank you.
This is the 3rd year for the Wilmington Police Youth Academy. Organizers say out of the 14 students recruited to participate, many were young ladies this year, and they hope to draw an even bigger interest from boys and girls next summer. Nichelle reports a fun fact from this year's participants. They enjoyed the police work, but not the morning exercise to get them fit for the day. Now to another summer staple, the Delaware State Fair. The Harrington Fairgrounds had special guests this week as U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue took a tour. In addition to taking in the sights and sounds at the fair, Perdue met with Delaware farmers and the state's congressional delegation during his visit. One topic on the mind of farmers, the amount of federal regulations they have to deal with.
Those are the kind of things we want to clarify for the public here, where it makes sense. We find people, when regulations are clear, they're understandable, people are relatively compliant. When we cloud them, that's when we have compliance issues.
It's a great example of a duplication between regulation we have, a law that we have that governs the use of pesticides. It falls within the EPA, it also falls within the Department of Ag. It only needs to be in one, and we should straighten that out and fix that. I hope we will this year.
While the three Democrats representing Delaware and Washington have been very critical of the Trump administration, Senator Carper said Secretary Perdue's visit exemplifies how the delegation can work with the administration. He called Perdue's visit a great example of communication, cooperating, and collaborating.
In less than 2 weeks, former Governor Jack Markell will pull into Rehoboth Beach at the end of his cross-country bicycle journey. We spoke with Markell on Wednesday to see how the ride's going.
I am in Birch Run, Michigan.
What's the weather like? Have you had any bad weather yet, or are you still getting lucky?
The weather's been nice. We've been very fortunate overall. We only had like a day and a half of rain. It's been a fantastic experience, but it's been a challenge because, you know, many of the people on the trip, you know, are really fantastic cyclists, and I enjoy cycling, but I'm not a fantastic cyclist.
Well, you're hanging in there.
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. I'm one of the slower, you know, Senator Dave Cicola is with me now. He joined me about 10 days ago. He is one of the faster cyclists on the trip.
Is it comforting having someone from home with you along the journey?
It's great. I've actually had 3 friends, including Dave Cicola, and it's really nice to have somebody from home. I mean, I've become friendly with all the people on the trip, and they are terrific. They really are. But, of course, it's nice to have old friends along as well.
You said you rode 74 miles today. On average, you're doing about 80 miles a day. How's your body holding up?
My body's holding up remarkably well, I would say. Back in Jackson, Wyoming, I actually fell off my bike, and so I got a little bit banged up there, but you know, my aches and pains don't really bother me while I'm riding. They bother me a little bit when I'm not riding.
And have you raised more money, or how much? What's the tally at now?
I think we're at about $125,000.
The group Motivate the First State is the charity that Markell has partnered with in his cross-country trek. Read more about them at motivatethefirst.state.com.
The Best of Delaware is always the ultimate list for the First State. One of the people behind the list is Mark Nardone, editor-in-chief at Delaware Today magazine. Mark, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Delaware Today is our partner contribution this month. So, Mark, let's talk a little bit about just a massive list that this is every year. Talk about what it takes to put it all together. Just so many different areas.
Well, we publish in July, so we really get started in January. We put a ballot in the magazine in the January issue, the February issue, and we let the readers vote. They can do that on paper, or they can also do that online. Online, we get well over 20,000 votes. So many votes that we actually have a accounting firm tally them up for us and certify them, so we can't be accused of playing favorites or that kind of thing. So once we know who the winners are, the readers' choices, we often agree with the readers. We also think there are some places that the readers should know about that maybe they haven't considered before, so we make some editors' choices there. Great places that we think people should know about. And then we start the reporting. The readers' choices, we don't really know why they voted for those places. We let them stand on their own. We know why we chose the editors' picks, the critics' picks, so we go out and we have personal experiences with these places. You know, they're places that we like to go, and we get around pretty well. And so we start talking to the owners and the fans of those places and put together the actual reporting for that.
And obviously it's sort of a dual purpose issue of Delaware Today, you know, to honor these restaurants and bars and hotels and whatever, but also sort of to let readers in on maybe something they're missing.
Absolutely. I mean, we want to celebrate the places that make Delaware a great place to live, and we want to point people to other places that are great too.
So let's talk a little bit about the list itself. Of course, food seems to be one of the favorite subjects for this, and there's specific foods, ice cream this year, some farm-based ice cream places.
Yeah, we are very lucky to have two great creameries, dairy farms, where you can go eat great ice cream. Woodside Farms in Hockessin, which is, that farm has been in the same family for a couple hundred years.
Right.
So it's a neat way to keep the farm alive. And Hopkins Farm downstate, and they make great ice cream too. We love going there.
And then a quintessential food item on the list is the crab cake.
The crab cake.
People always love the crab cake, of course.
That is the national food of Delaware.
Right.
So we take the crab cakes very, very seriously, and so do the restaurants. So that's always a tough choice and a fun one to report.
A fun one to sample and taste test, right? And there's restaurants in general that are awarded as well in this year's list.
Yeah, Delaware, we are lucky. We have a lot of really great restaurants across the board, neighborhood places that are fun to go to that serve great food, on up to places like the hotel and some finer dining places.
And state parks on the list this year.
State parks, yeah. I personally am a big state parks fan, and we use White Clay and Cape Henlopen quite a bit, but there are others out there too. They're beautiful places. We're lucky to have them. People should go see them.
You mentioned my two favorite state parks, White Clay and,
you have good taste.
Cape Henlopen, very good. And then this interesting, philanthropy in the best of Delaware.
Yeah, there were a couple things. I think one of the most extraordinary things that's happening is called Warriors Beach Week. And there were a group of people down around the Bethany area who decided that veterans and their families needed to be honored and helped. Military families often don't make a lot of money, so these people open their homes, they open their business to host these families every year, to give them a week's vacation completely free. They can do kayak tours, they can go out to eat, they can go out on personal watercraft, and they have a free place to stay. So some generous people taking care of some people that we owe a lot to.
Sure, really good work. And then this week, maybe not so much. We've got a little bit of a break in the weather. So it's a little bit cooler this week. Last week was super hot, and there's some recommended cooling spots, ways to cool off in the list.
Yeah, there are a couple great places. Killen's Pond has a big splash park that is really a lot of fun. Again, state park, we're lucky to have it. And the pool at the Jewish Community Center up on Concord Pike it's a fun place. We are locked in the birthday party circuit for little kids, so we're there quite a bit.
Right. And then can't let it go without being mentioned, public media getting a shout out.
Public media, WHYY. We are big fans, not just because we're content partners, but also because there really is some great programming. I am a great believer in sort of the analysis, the in-depth reporting, and the storytelling that we need to have.
And of course, we appreciate you being here and saying that.
Yeah.
So all these celebrated in the magazine, the winners celebrated at a party coming in August.
August 10th, Chase Center on the riverfront. 2,000 of your closest friends and a lot of great food to eat, some great entertainment, some dancing. It's a good time.
So putting together Delaware Today magazine throughout the year, this kind of the pinnacle, the peak, the favorite issue for you, for the readers?
Absolutely, the biggest seller of the year. Everybody reads that, and it's a good guide to places that you need to see. And people are also curious about what we have to say about things. So we take that one pretty seriously.
All right, we look forward to it. The Best of Delaware celebration at the Chase Center in Wilmington on Thursday, August 10th. Check out more on DelawareToday.com. Mark Nodun, thanks so much.
Mark, thanks.
From fake paintings to fake furniture, musical instruments, sports memorabilia, even wine, the art world is full of fakes and forgeries. But could you tell the difference? Could an expert? Those are just some of the questions being asked at an exhibit at Winterthur called Treasures on Trial. First Experience got a tour of some of these treasures, the fake and the real.
This is an exhibit that's called Treasures on Trial, the Art and Science of Detecting Fakes. We've purposely put together a show with a wide range of types of objects, so it's not all just a snooty art show. We've got baseball memorabilia, we have a Stradivarius violin, we've got weather vanes, we've got stamps, we've got wine, we've got paintings, we've got ceramics, we've got a wide range of things to give people an idea that really you're using the same kinds of techniques to figure all of these things out. Do you believe in vampires? People actually did believe in vampires in the 19th century. What we have is a box from the Mercer Museum, who very generously lent it to us. We analyzed all the different elements, but still you've got a 19th century box, you've got a 19th century gun. Yeah, the silver bullets might be pewter. So we lay out both the prosecution and defense and let people decide for themselves. Some of these are very, very, very good fakes. And so the one I was telling you about was the Dragonfly Tiffany glass lampshade. It is an excellent fake. What we found was that the solder in that didn't contain lead. Well, at the time Tiffany lamps were originally made, all of the solder contained lead. One of the difficulties of putting on a show like this is that we don't want to give recipe books to fakers to improve the quality of their fakes. On the other hand, we're showing people how we tell. It's not just, oh, it feels wrong. This is actually a genuine baseball glove from the late 19th century, purchased on eBay for $750, but then resold for $200,000 with a fake provenance that associated with Babe Ruth. The certificate is for the Joe DiMaggio bat. Certificates of authenticity can also be falsified, so you should be very suspicious of everything. This is a fake Stradivarius that we purchased on eBay. We're very, very grateful to Jing Gao, who is a professor at the University of Delaware. He has recorded a Bach prelude on both the Lady Tennant genuine Strad and on our eBay fakes. Let's see if you can hear the difference. We want people to be informed, but it's also fun, right? So people really love it when experts get fooled. We're telling the few stories that we've been able to prove are fake. Who knows how many others are out there?
In case you were wondering, violin number 1 was the real Stradivarius. Number 2 was purchased on eBay. And if you recently purchased some sports memorabilia, well, according to Linda, at least 50% or more of all sports memorabilia is fake. You can see the entire exhibit at Winterthur now through January 7th. Visit winterthur.org for more information.
I gotta go look at my Babe Ruth signed baseball now. Next week on First, we tap into the August issue of Delaware Today and a story on the Summer Collaborative. It's a way to close the education gap by encouraging kids to read over the summer.
Okay, that and a lot more next time. That is First for this week, though. We thank you for watching. For Chris Barish, Mark Eichman, and Nichelle Pulse News Under the Weather, I'm Shirley Min. Have a great week.